Yes, I can.
Excellent. Super. Well, welcome everyone. This is a session I've given a number of times and keep getting requests for it. So when Q asked if I had something I'd like to present, I thought this would be a very good one to put out there. Title, of course, is Free or Nearly Free Utilities for Network Administrator. Basically, I've been consulting for many years, and over the years I've had to do many different things, many different items, and I've looked for and found a number of utilities that have helped me get my job done. Made it a whole lot easier for me, a whole lot more accurate. And what I've done is I've built up my own little toolbox of utilities, and I decided that it's time that I share some of these with everyone, as I'm sure everyone else does. This has been a live presentation. As far as there's been no two of these, no matter how close I've given them to each other, that have been the same. They've always been a migration or a change in them somewhere, and someone comes up and says, oh, this is a really cool utility I found. And I am hoping that at the end of today that I get a bunch of emails with utilities from you guys who are attending that give me the same type of information. And I will add everything you guys send to this and send it all up to Q, and he will get it posted up for you guys to download. So you will have anything that is I have today, and anything you guys send me by the end of next week will be into Q. So to move on, I have been consulting for over 20 years. Primarily, my expertise is Novell products. I've been a Novell Support Forum SysOp for 6 years. I resigned from that position a number of years ago because I just did not have the time with everything that's happening at my office to put in what was needed to really do it right for you guys. I've been working in the education K-12 and higher ed primarily for the last 11 years. Prior to that, I was in commercial, anywhere from airlines to banking to whatever, all in consulting. Over the years, I've gained a number of certifications from many different places, and I have multiple from each of the ones that I've listed here. So today, what I'm planning on doing is I've divided up the different utilities I have into general categories. And here's a quick list of the categories we'll hit. Now moving on, first of all is networking. I've got 3 main networking utilities I use for packet type captures. Number 1 is Wireshark. This is the upgraded Ethereal or Ethereal, however you want to pronounce it. The engineers from Ethereal left and started their own company, Wireshark. Laura Chappell, if you've not heard of her, you want to. She is phenomenal as far as her knowledge base in packet level. And she's also one of the best presenters I've ever seen. And if you can say that stealing someone's way or adapting their teaching style to yours, I have complimented her many times in borrowing or adapting some of the things she's done and the way she's done them into the different classes I've taught over the years. But Wireshark, we have executables for Windows and for Linux. Does a phenomenal job in picking up and analyzing the packets. If you've got a network server, there's a utility from Novell called Packet Scanner or PKT Scan you can get, and it allows you to capture everything coming and going from your server so you can take a look and figure out what's going on. For anyone in the Linux realm, it's a simple command line built into it called TCP dump. A little bit more on these. I've also sourced each one of the utilities with the URL where I download it or where you can get information on it, as well as screenshots so you kind of get a general idea of what it looks like. For Wireshark, here we have a packet capture that is being analyzed. If you notice the different colored lines across the different packets, they each will connotate a different type of packet, from SNMP to ARP to TCP, etc. They're all a little bit different. You can quickly get color coding so you can tell what you're looking at. In the middle window is a little more detail on the packet itself into major headings. And then if you see the top one and frame 1 is highlighted, detail actual bytes and bits for that packet you can see below. So you can actually drill right into the ones and zeros. For monitoring, the main monitoring utilities or looking at things I have seen over the years and have used are these four: Cacti, Look at LAN, NetFlow Analyzer, and Insider. Cacti, for those who are used to Cisco, you're probably pretty familiar with MRTG. Think of MRTG on steroids. This thing, instead of just being able to do 2 lines of data, will take 4 data sets and put them on the same graph. You have a lot more capabilities, a lot more control of this. It does a really, really nice job. One of my clients actually took and put a weather bug in their data center. And what they did is they monitored, amongst everything else, temperature and humidity, light levels. What those 3 big ones gave them is that the temperature would allow you, of course, to monitor the temperature of the room. So if it starts getting too high or too low, you can get warned and have an idea. You can also see the daily and monthly flow of the temperatures. So you can sit there and say, oh, look, at 2:30 every night, I'm getting a temperature spike. And go and take a look and find out that they're doing some kind of something every night at 2:30 that's shutting off the air conditioner when they're not supposed to. Example, with the light was rather interesting is that when people go into the data center, they flick on the light. Well, you'll see a spike up in light. When they leave, they shut it off, so the light level drops again. It allows you to actually kind of take a look at and see how often the data center is actually occupied by a human person. Look at LAN is a kind of a nifty little utility. They've now changed it over. It is now called Fling. It does a network discovery, and they claim 100% hit rate in anything that's Ethernet-based on your network. It has supported operating systems of Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. It will gather the MAC address, and nice piece about this is it will actually, or it is actually faster and smarter than Look at LAN, so it's a nice little upgrade. And from there, you pop in, and here's a window you can see. You can see the detected hosts below, whether they're online or offline at this moment. The distance in hops, what kind of OS, if it can detect it. As you can see there, the top one there is not Windows. The host name is Mini. It's probably a Mac Mini in this case, et cetera, et cetera. Our next one is NetFlow Analyzer. Nice thing about this, it's a free trial. If you decide you want to use it and want to add features, that's when you pay. So then you have to pick out the feature sets and decide if it's worth the money they're asking for it. NetFlow Analyzer gives you detailed information on bandwidth usage, patterns of usage for traffic analysis. You can drill down into the specific applications, users, and IP ports, so you can determine the exact source of different spikes and bursts that you're seeing. A new one that I was actually adding about 15 minutes ago is Insider. This is from our local wireless guy. He told me about this. I went, ooh, I got to add this. This is a download. It's a freebie. And what you do is this is a type of window you can pull up. You choose which ones you want, and you're scanning it. Your left window is a data levels and transmissions from certain access points, the ones you have checked, over time. The right window is signal strength compared to the channels. So you can see there you've got 2 WAPs that are both sitting on channel 7. If you look above, you can see that is SSID of WA wire and Dink something or other, or Dirk. I hope it's Dirk. Anyway, So you can take a look and say, okay, I got two access points stepping on each other. We need to move one of these to a different channel. Let's move this one out to channel 11. Another one from the MetaGeek group is a channelizer, which is a live look at your wireless signal that you're detecting at that moment. It does a real nice job. I was able to detect an issue with a particular wireless access point with this thing. Had a client who had the wireless going down, especially around lunchtime in this one area of their user group, and started taking a look. And what I finally figured out is the wireless access point was on, I believe it was channel 11, and just on the other side of the wall of this access point was a microwave oven. Its broadcast, or its output when you're using it, it kind of flows over channel 10 through channel 14, and its signal pretty much wiped out the access point. So to fix it, all I had to do is set that access point to a different channel away from the microwave frequencies, and they took care of the issue. Otherwise, they're just driving them nuts. They're like, oh, wait, we just dropped it. What the heck? And they get over there, and it looks great, because by then, whoever was heating something in the microwave, it had finished. So it was a rather interesting one that I ran into. Some of the remote utilities I've used over the years, VNC, PuTTY, web-based remotes, and desktop remote manager, or remote desktop manager. My favorite VNC is Type VNC. I use this for pretty much anything I can use VNC to get to, either a Windows box running a VNC server, or pretty much any Linux box you have out there has VNC available to turn on. And of course, you have to open up a port in the firewall. And I pop into the GUI on my different Linux boxes to do the various pieces I have to do in the GUI. The other one I use is Ultra VNC. The nice thing about this is it's got a couple other settings that you can do to help you be able to do something a little bit different or in a better way. If you notice, one of the things they have, it makes it a LAN/WAN friendly VNC, so you can set up your speed so you don't swamp out your various things, or it tries to do a little bit faster than it has available. Second thing I do when I go to my Linux servers is I use PuTTY. This particular PuTTY, again, is a free one. It's great. Just put in the applicable host name or IP address, and I can save my session. So I give it a name, and that will then be available for next time I come into that client site and I want to connect to that server. Just load that session, pop it in, and away I go. You notice it also will do raw and telnet as well as rlogin and serial, depending upon what you need. So it's a nice little utility. It allows you to do quite a few things. The main thing I use it for is PuTTY. Get into my command line and do the things I need to do very quickly in a box. If I'm remote and need to get into a box from outside, there are a couple of different ways to go. One is log me in. This is a really nice little utility if you are non-commercial, and et cetera, they have their basic setups. Basically, you can use this for free. If you're trying to remote a server, you will require a pay-for license for this. If you want to do some extra stuff, as you can see in the bottom left corner is a Log Me In Pro, which is a pay-for version. You have extra things you can do with it. So if you need to do that, or if you are a commercial type place and want to use it, then it's a couple of dollars to do that. Pretty darn reasonable, though, instead of having to drive into a site, especially for myself. The other day I ended up having to help out 3 different clients, and they're at 3 points of the compass from my location at opposite ends of the Twin Cities. I couldn't have gotten to all 3 of them in one day for what work I did if I had a possibility. As it was, I got all 3 done, and it was just becoming lunch. So it saved me a buku of time. Plus, I had a much faster response time, so the people are happier. And if I'm at home and someone at the office needs something, or one of my clients needs something, I can do it right then and there, and I don't have to leave. I can just bang it, pop in, do what I need, and then leave. Second one to use for that type of thing is go to my PC. A really nice setup. You can get 45-day free trials all over the place. If you listen to radio for about 10 minutes, you'll probably hear either go to my PC or go to meeting, same place. Advertisement say use this code and blah blah blah, whatever. They're all over the place, quick and easy. Another one, very nice. I've got one client. He's got 2 sessions set up that I go into depending upon what I need. One is for a PC and one's for a Mac. And it's web-based as far as I'm concerned, so I just use a browser to get in. So if I need to get into the PC and I'm on a Mac or Linux box, I can. If I need to get into the Mac and I'm on a Windows box, no problem. It works great. For those who are into the Novell pieces, one of the things that have been available on NetWare since I believe it was version 6 or 6.5 and all the way through OS Linux is Novell Remote Manager. Here's a screenshot with some highlights giving you kind of a walk around what you're looking at. For those who haven't used this and you've got Novell boxes, take a look at this. This is incredible. One of the things on a network server you can do that I found nothing else that can do this is I can go drill into a volume to a specific file and close a file for a person or a process, as the case may be. For instance, if I've got a group-wise server and I need to swap out a user's FID, their file ID database, if I go in and either the POA has it open or they've got their client open or whatever the case may be, I can't rename it and put in a replacement one because something's got it open. Well, if it's a POA, I would have to bounce the POA, which cuts off everyone else. And with NORM, I can actually close it for the POA, do the replacement I need, and then let the POA or the user reconnect anytime they want. Also helps if they've left their desk and they, for instance, have a file they need you to do restore on or whatever it happens to be. You can close it for them. They still have it open. It's just not linked to the original file. And then you can replace it for them. In the Linux side of the realm, which is what you're looking at here, there's some additional capabilities. And as you can see, you can look into the drill right into the file system and right down to files, take a look at issues with the server, et cetera, et cetera. It is a really powerful tool that almost no one uses. Another one that's on the servers is iMonitor. This is actually off of a NetWare box. I can go into iMonitor, and amongst everything else I can do from here, I can actually do traces, NDS traces, capture it to a file, for instance, go in and do an LDAP trace so I can see everything coming and going from the server for LDAP. And this is my normal method to use when I'm trying to track down LDAP errors on a Novell server. The Linux URL is the top one. The network URL is the bottom one. Next one is Remote Desktop Manager. This is kind of a cool little utility. It allows you to do RDP. You can do VNC from here, web browser type, whatever, even TeamViewer, which is another log me in, which is the next one. But log me in and TeamViewer are pretty similar to each other as well. Allows you to use all of them, put them in here so you can zoom between them as you need. It gives you a nice little list so you can pull up whichever one you need. Nice little front end. This one does cost a couple of dollars. It is $25 per user or $250 for a site license. So it's not inordinate if you're going to use this at work. Documenting and editing utilities. One of the things I do as a consultant, whenever I do an install, configuration, etc., I leave the person or the place a bunch of documentation, IP addresses, administration items, names, passwords, whatever I set, I leave there for them, including various how-tos, step-by-steps, etc. One of the recent ones I've been doing is the GroupWise data sync server, and after I do it, I give them a how to get into it, to manage it, to add users to it, et cetera, that type of thing. And I do use a number of these things to do some of that. One of the ones I've used over the years is old, but it is so usable for me that I still use it all the time. The GroupWise import-export utility runs with Console 1. It may get you to think, oh, yeah, but I really don't want to do look at something that's in GroupWise. Well, you know what? The only thing you have to do is have a connection to a GroupWise post office or a domain, actually, and then you can do queries on anything and everything you want. I come in, I actually do imports and exports from here. One of the quick things I do, every user in GroupWise has a FID, a file ID. It's a three-character alphanumeric connotating that person. That makes them unique on that post office. Well, if you've got a little output of a file that says user X3Z has got this issue, well, it's really hard to find X3Z. I can export every user in the tree with their file ID in a couple of minutes. And it's a CSV output, suck it into Excel, sort it, bang, there you go. You can sort on whatever you want. You go right down. There's that user. Oh, that's this person. You can call them up, find out what else is happening. I also use it for an import. I do a lot of things where I create students every year to import into the various trees for the new block of students or whatever they happen to need. I get the list of students, I crunch them in Excel as a data editor basically, creating new columns in the CSV file. I take all those, set it up, and I push it in. The nice thing about this utility, you can push in passwords. You can't pull them out, but you can push them. So I can set up all the student users with passwords really quick. I've done 2,000 students in about 5 to 7 minutes, actual import time. Next one that has been a huge time saver and was used prolifically to get all this information in this, MW Snap. This is a screenshot utility. You can do a fixed rectangular area, a window, your full desktop, a number of other things. It's very quick. There's hotkeys to do any one of these. And this is the only utility I have found that I can come in, click on a menu, highlight the item I want to talk about, or here's the next step in doing something, and then capture that screen or that window with that menu pulled down. It's the only one I know that can do that. Again, it's free. It works wonderfully. I highly recommend it. How many out there have had to edit an apache.conf file, get an error, or any configuration file? You get a statement, for instance, the reason I mention Apache, of course, is that if there's any error in the configuration file, it won't load. It just won't disable one thing, it just will not run. You'll get an error in your log file, says like error in line 246. Well, you bring this up in most file editors and you're good luck. You're going to have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and count, and it just, hopefully you figured out which line it is, and if you miscount somewhere, well then who knows what line you're working on, you may actually make more errors. The nice thing about Notepad++, if you know it on the left, line numbers really has been a massive time saver for me. Next one, which is kind of fun, GIMP. GIMP is a picture editor, and it is open source. It's a freebie. For those who are in K-12s looking for something to be able to do picture editing, but don't have buku-oodles of money, or you got cutbacks so you can't get Adobe Photoshop for every room in your lab, this might be a good alternative. Even the local person at home wants to play around with some photos off their camera just to tweak them up or touch up the various little pieces. This does actually a pretty darn good job. And it's free, it's great. One of the new sections I added this year, VM utilities. Virtualization is becoming more and more mainstream all the time. So I went and I added some of the utilities I've been finding and using lately. I mentioned ESXi. This is a server virtualization. It is free, comes from VMware, and the only time you're going to spend money on this is if you want to start linking servers together with vMotion. Then the vCenter or Virtual Center that does this link stuff, that's what will cost you the money. Second one is Xen, X-E-N. Another virtualization. This is virtualization on Unix. I do have this running in a couple of spots. It does a job pretty much of almost as good as the VM does. It's been fairly easy. I set it up, and my boss, who is a Windows guy, actually went into this and created a virtual machine, installed it, and had it running without me telling him anything. So having a Windows guy go into a Linux box and set up a VM without any help, to me that just says this is not too bad. This is fairly easy to use. So if you're looking for something, and if you have any kind of licensing, so you have the full SUSE, it's completely free and completely supported. And even if you don't, the open SUSE stuff still has this available. Now, some utilities to help you with your virtualization. This is a capacity modeler for your virtualization. You can model up to 3 ESX or ESXi hosts or 1 vCenter setup. That's the free side. You go past that, that's when you're going to have to start talking to them about a license fee. Does a really nice job, and it's really interesting to see some of the recommendations so you can even out your loads across your various virtual center servers. Veeam. The Veeam Monitor free edition, that is, will help you monitor your boxes and allow you to take a look at various things like CPU usage, etc., in one simple screen that's sitting on your desktop. A couple of things. It does need a Microsoft SQL database for all of its transactions, and this is one that you may want to have a dedicated box to do this, to run the core OS that you access. It does have a nice GUI and does pull in the host and virtual machine watch statistics, and you can see them go by in real time. So it's a nice little utility you may want to think about. Excuse me, RoboWare tools. It's a very quick overview of your environment and has everything from host to individual VM info. Just drill on in and see what you need. You can see that they have just a couple of tabs across the top to give you the information you're looking for. Miscellaneous utilities that I've used over the years. Driver Magician Lite. This one, working with a client that we were setting up to do driver agnostic imaging. One of the things you have to do is have driver sets for every model of computer to be able to push them out. Going out and getting all these drivers, pulling the files you need, and setting them up in individual directories is a real pain in the backside. It is not something that's easy. I found this utility, gave it to one of my clients who's working on this, And he figures I save them between 1 and 200 man-hours of work to pull all the drivers for all their machines. This is something that you can get that will run on a thumb drive without any installation, which is my recommendation for this for people. So you have for instance, you have a brand new laptop. You plug this in the thumb drive that's already on, that has Driver Magician on it. Plug the thumb drive in, launch Driver Magician, and you have a screen that comes up like this. Every driver you see that's in black came from the install media. Every driver you see that's in red came from the third-party install. What you can do is highlight the red ones, check mark them, and then click Backup, Start Backup. What it will do is create a, and then of course point back to your thumb drive, and what it will do is create a directory on your thumb drive for each of the drivers, copy all needed INF files, DLLs, SYSs, etc., EXEs even if needed, for that driver to that directory. So you have a complete driver there so you can reinstall if needed. Makes it a real nice quick way to grab all the drivers you need off of a box before you redo it. Maybe throw in the Windows or whatever CD and Windows 7 and Windows XP or whichever you have. Save off your drivers, put in the CD, install it fresh. Of course, if you've got my luck, it's a network card that doesn't come up, so I can't get online to go look for drivers. If I've grabbed my drivers with this, I can tell it to go out, look here for a driver for a missing piece. It'll say, oh, okay, I see the driver for the network card, and it installs it. Now, the one thing it doesn't do is it doesn't install any third-party applications or controllers that come with. A good example will be NVIDIA. NVIDIA's got some wonderful screen management utilities that come with or you install separately. It will not capture that piece, but what it will do is install the drivers so you're running optimally on the video card. All you need to do then later is install the NVIDIA executables to do all the management part. Homes. Homes is a program that will create home directories on your server. It will do it on the fly, and this is designed primarily for the Novell arena. I go to a context where there's users and say, okay, I want to have a home directory. I want to put it over here. I want to have this much user space. I want to set up these rights. I want to set the directories to be rename and delete inhibits so they can't accidentally be moved or deleted. And then go. And what happens is it will automatically create all your home directories on the fly. If the directory is already created, it will just verify and then reset the volume and path on that user for their home directory. So it won't delete anything that's there. If it's there, it will just relink that person to it. If it's not there, it will create it. So if you have some home directories but not all of them, and you run it, you're not destroying anything. The only thing you are going to do if you're setting user and directory space restrictions, if there isn't one, it will add it. And if there is one, it will change it to whatever you're setting it to. So if you're trying to set them and you've got a couple of users with extra space, you're going to have to come back after the fact and give them their extra space again. Not a big deal, especially if you're doing several hundred home directories in a shot. Much faster to go back on a couple of users. Next one, power off. This is a kind of a cool utility because you can tell computers to power on or off as you need. So you can remote the computer, shut it off, shut down, reboot. You can see all the actions there. It's a nifty little thing. It's quick. It's simple. WinSCP. If you're on a Windows laptop and you're working at setting up some Linux boxes, Linux servers, and you got the OS installed, and now you've got an ISO on your Windows box, that you need to do an install on the Linux box. It's like, oh, now what? What WinSCP does is allows me to link to the Linux box, The left window is my Windows box. As you can see, I'm drilled into a document setting, my documents, and I can drill in from there to wherever I need to go. On the right, it defaults to the root directory, /root in the Windows, in our Linux box. You can go anywhere else you want, and then it's simple F5 will copy whatever you have highlighted on one side to the other side. So you can copy either direction. As you see at the bottom, you can create and delete directories and files and the whole 9 yards. It's a real nice utility. I use it quite frequently. WSFTP. This is a nifty little quick and easy FTP program. Allows me to link in to upload or download whatever I need, which is normally me uploading a file capture to Novell, since that's most of my work. Next one, 7-zip. This is a really nice one for those of you who have WinZip and you have to wait for timeout, so you can sit there and say, no, I'm not going to put in a license code, blah, blah, blah. This one is freeware. It will do all the zip formats. It will also do a little bit tighter zip format called the 7Z format. It will do gzip, bzip, tar. It will do ARG, cabs. It will do CPIOs, DEB, DMGs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a list of about 20 different compression things or compression styles that it will actually open up and allow you to add to or pull out from, extract and add to these different files. And like I said, it's free, so there's no licensing you have to wait for. WinISO. I work with a lot of boot CDs for various things. The WinISO utility originally was the first 50, or if you have 50 meg ISOs or less, you can use WinISO for free. If it's over that, in order to work with it, you have to register it and pay for it. So you have a nice little in-betweener. Almost every one of the boot CDs I work with are all under 50 megs. So it makes it really easy for me. The biggest thing I do, the boot CD, you can see the settings.txt file. That's something that I have to edit and modify for every one of the client sites I go to that they're using the boot CDs. So I'm able to open that up, edit it, save it, and away we go. The only gotcha on this I'll give you is running Linux boot CDs, opening them up, works fine on the Windows box here. But you can't do a save as. If you so make a backup copy of your ISO, open up the backup, do your changes, and save. If you save as and then burn it, it will not boot. That's one thing I run into the hard way. Now that we've gotten through that, now let's just touch base on some fun things. And since I work for Ties, I've been asked, of course, by boss and Uber boss, that I make a little pitch to let you guys know. Everyone who is in government, in the business, or for your own personal, you can go to tiesdepot.com and register, and you will get pricing applicable with where you are. If you're a K-12, even if you're an employee thereof, you will get K-12 pricing, even if it's for personal use. If it's for your own personal, go to the home office store, and that's where you would register. The reason is it's for tax purposes. Home office has you pay the taxes. On the other side, then of course you need tax numbers, et cetera, for all that kind of fancy stuff. But register with the email of your office or school to get the maximum discounts. But this is available for pretty much anyone who wants to use it. I don't know how many people out there have had issues with iTunes. I have over the years. One of the things that they used to have a thing or issue with is I would put something on my iPod from, say my home workstation, would copy my music to my iPod. Well, my workstation is mucked up, so I would reformat it, yada, yada, yada. Well, now I don't have, I forgot to grab my music. So, well, it's on my iPod, it should be fine. No, iTunes didn't let me copy the music off. So I basically am now up a creek. MediaMonkey allows you to do that. I do like the format of it much better. They also have a really nice fade in, fade out for the beginnings and end of songs, so it's not an abrupt cut. Even if you're playing one and flip to the next one, it's not an abrupt cut. It just kind of fades one out and fades the next one in, and it's a real nice transition. Here's a step-by-step you can get to make your iPhone ringtones in iTunes. So anything that you have that's an MP3 type, you can go through this little process and turn your song into a ringtone. Why pay for them if you already own them? Here's some other URL search. I mentioned earlier, Laura Chappell, packet-level.com is her website. She has oodles of info. A lot of it is free on your packet analysis. Other ones, Novell Shareware has always had some outstanding pieces in it. That's where a lot of these pieces of software came from, especially on the Novell side. GRB has always had incredible utilities. There's normally a small charge for those, but not bad at all. Cool Solutions has a very nice software section that has a lot of pieces you can download. Some of them are free, some of them are pay for. Just read what it says about them, go out and check the sites, and you can go and run with them. Another one, Bob's EduLinks, is just that. It's education-based stuff, software. Very nice site. Go check it out. Those of you who have put up with me for the last 45 minutes or so, I thank you very much. If you have utilities that you really like and would like to add to the stack and maybe get into my presentation, please email them to me. There's my email address. Send me the utility name, the URL for download. Hey, what the hey, I may want it too. I probably will. Basic description of what you do and how you use it, and I will put all these together, and we will add them into one big thing. I'll put it at the tail end of this and print this out into a PDF, the whole thing, and send it up to Q, and it'll be available for download. Hope everyone had a good time, and find some usage out of a few of the things I've stumbled into. Good luck.